We'll just wait for a few minutes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HEC Paris session at the MBA Spotlight Fair organized by GMAT Club. We are so excited to have all of you here with us. I am Shreya Satish, joining in from Mumbai, India, and I will be your moderator for this session. We have two members from the Recruit Managing Committee from the school present here. We have Emilia and Valentin. Let's welcome them. And I'm sure they're going to run you through the entire program that the school offers, run you through the elaborate details, and make sure that you have everything that you need to scale through the admission process and hopefully make it to the school. So yes, let's start.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Shreya. Can everyone see my screen? Is everything all good on that side?
We can hear you and see you, yes.
Perfect.
I see a lot of
Wonderful.
thumbs up, so yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Well, welcome. Today's session will be presenting an overview, a really quick one, of the HEC Paris MBA and its admissions process. So my name's Emilia, and I'm happy to host today's session with my wonderful colleague, Valentin. So we're both part of the recruitment team for the HEC Paris MBA, and we're happy to be presenting our program today.
Hello, everyone.
So we'll kick off the session with a presentation of the program, the school, the curriculum, as well as the opportunities during and after the MBA. And then we'll jump into the admissions process and we'll give you some tips for providing the best application possible. Of course, feel free to send over any questions that you might have along the way. We'll do our best to address them in the second part of the session today, which is the Q&A part. Okay, well, let's kick things off with a quick dive into HEC Paris. So it's actually founded back in 1881, and HEC is one of France's oldest business schools. So each year we welcome over 4,000 students across the various programs. So that's our MBA, the PhDs, the executive education programs, and of course the specialized master's degrees. And HEC has a stellar track record in shaping business leaders. So today, around 4,000 of our alumni are CEOs, CFOs, or founders. So we'll go more into rankings shortly, but one that we are really proud of is that we are ranked number 3 in the world for graduating the greatest number of CEOs of Fortune Global 500 companies. So joining HEC means that you're stepping into a vast network of leaders and innovators. Speaking of rankings, we know that they're often a big factor when choosing an MBA program, and we're incredibly proud of HEC's global standing. I guess rankings are a fantastic starting point, but we also encourage you to dig deeper in your MBA research. Each ranking has its own criteria, so it's helpful to see what they're measuring. Some focus more on salary outcomes, others on student experience, diversity, networking, research. So a tip would be to think of features that are important to you and those that align closely with what you're looking for in a program. HEC is located very precisely 17 kilometers from central Paris in the medieval town of Jouy-en-Josas. Worry not, it is accessible to the city. Students and staff easily commute from Paris in about 45 minutes using either public transport or the HEC shuttles. And of course, I may be biased, but I must say that our campus is really stunning. It's complete with a private chateau, a forest, a lake, and top-notch facilities like sports areas, 20 kilometers of running trails, a library, a language center, and on-campus housing. And HEC is part of the Paris Saclay Innovation Hub, which connects us with top engineering firms, R&D centers, and startups. And plus, as a proud member of Station F, one of the world's largest startup incubators, the school offers really cool opportunities for anyone interested in tech and entrepreneurship. Okay, well, let's dive into what makes up a typical HEC MBA class. Our full-time MBA is a 16-month-long program with 2 intakes, one in September, one in January, that together form one graduating class. So each year we welcome just under 300 students split across those intakes, meaning the class size is fairly small. And it's actually an ideal class size because it's intimate enough to foster close connections, but large enough to build a strong and diverse network. Diversity is definitely central to the HEC experience. I think it's the words that we repeat very often. We have 95% of international students coming from over 50 nationalities, so you'll definitely be learning alongside peers from around the world. Plus, HEC recruits from a wide range of professional backgrounds. So this can be consultants, bankers, but also lawyers, doctors, marketers, and engineers, and much, much more, which brings really unique perspectives into every conversation. So looking at some key numbers, we have 38% of women, which is a number that we're working to grow through partnerships like the Forte Foundation. The average age is about 30 with 6 years of work experience and an average GMAT of 635 on the Focus edition. But remember, I just said the word average. So the ages range from 23 to 38 and work experience varies from 2 to 10 years. And HEC really takes a holistic approach to admissions. So if you don't see yourself in these statistics, definitely reach out because we'd love to have a look at your background and provide some personalized feedback. Okay, without further ado, jumping into the MBA curriculum. So the program is divided into 2 phases. So I mentioned earlier that it's a 16-month program. The first phase is the fundamental one. So this phase really sharpens your core business skills, giving you insights into all areas of business. You'll dive into theory and then put it into practice through presentations, workshops, and a lot of case-based learning. Then you jump into the customized phase of the program, which is where you tailor your MBA experience according to your post-MBA goal. So you get to pick one of 7 specializations, which you'll complete with electives, an international exchange, and even HEC certificates if you want. So this flexibility really allows you to shape your MBA journey to fit your career goals. And this is you'll see on the screen the curriculum for the January intake. So you'll notice that terms 3 and 4 are switched. This setup allows both the January and September students to pursue their specializations at the same time, which offers more opportunities to network, connect, and of course, build friendships with people who are interested in the same topics as you. So just like in the September intake, here you also have the option to do an internship. Valentin will dive into this a little bit later. So this is either over the summer when there are no classes or after term 4. So we believe that 16 months is the exact, is the perfect time frame to achieve a career transformation or an acceleration, to develop your leadership skills and also develop a really diverse network. But that being said, something new and exciting is that for the upcoming January intake, starting January 2025, we're launching the new 12-month option. This will be for the January intake only, and essentially it's a condensed version of our MBA program. So you'll cover the exact same content, but you'll complete it by December. So this option is really perfect for those of you who are looking for a shorter program and a more targeted career transition.
So when it's
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I'll pass it over to Valentin for the learning by doing approach.
When it comes to the learning approach, we do realize that many of our students have been working for some time and are transitioning to being students again. One of the highlights of the program when it comes to leadership is the leadership seminar, which literally take place on our campus. Sorry, can you go back to the other? Yeah,
apologies.
So we're not able, I won't be able to give you to too much away for the leadership campus seminar, but some militaries are coming directly on our campus to give you some challenges and to make you face some challenges, which is pretty great if you are able to get to know yourself. We then have the New Horizon Capstone, which is an experiential learning and tailored session program. So you will be facing some uncertainty, getting the choose of a consultant, and get some projects from yourself and to tailor your own projects. Then we have the executive committee. I'm really excited about this one. It's an exclusive group of students participating in some mentoring sessions by visiting CEOs that are French or not. They can be in Europe. So they are coming right now for you and giving you some advices tailored for you. We also have the MBA tournaments, which is the MBA Olympics. It's a 3-day multi-sport competition. So 1,500 people from the other MBAs in Europe are coming directly on the campus, and you are the one as students from the MBA organizing it. So you manage a 500K, 500K, budgets, and yeah, you really are organizing it, making sure that they are coming, but also making sure that the companies that are working with us are doing it also. So yeah, it's pretty great. We also have a career center directly on campus. So it's really linked to the MBAs. You have some personal coaches coming directly from each of your industry or sectors that you want. So you can book with them some coaching sessions. They are able to give you a personalized approach to achieve your goals. They are giving some one-to-one. You can, of course, book a one-to-one with them directly on campus or get to know an external coach. You can also have some career workshops that happen. Some days they are mandatory, sometimes they are not, but they can be along from your interests. They organize also some recruitment and networking events, which are really, really great if you want to learn some new industries or new companies that are coming directly on campus for you. We also have some digital career platform. The name is HEC, but they will be really get in touch with you once you are there on campus. So don't worry about it. We also have some specific programs, things such as some case cracking organized by some coaches. If you want to get to know for the consulting industry, for instance, it's better to have some case cracking background. So they are organizing it for you. But you can also get in touch with the clubs that are doing it also. And they are organizing some global tracks also. Yeah. For the companies that are coming on campus each year, we have 350 companies coming. Big events right now is the Carrefour that happens in January. 50 companies are coming directly on campus, and it's an event organized by the students. So they are coming just to get to know you and to give you some advice and the requirements for the internship or maybe the job. When it comes to the internship, so Amelia talked about it just before. We have two types of internship. We say that the summer break is the best thing to do an internship. So what we say is that between July and September, it's the optimal thing, but you can also take during mid-April to September or January to April when it comes to September intake, and July to September for the break, or January to May for the graduating year. The location are up to you, and the internships right now, we have 60% of our cohort that are doing so, and the companies are really between the consulting industry, the financial industry, and the tech industry with Amazon. It's really up to you after that. So for the placement stats, because I know it's something that's really a lot of you are waiting for that. We do have a lot of impact in Europe. As you can see, around 60% of our student cohorts are having a job after that in Europe, and 23% in France. 67% change sector, 64% change function, and 61 location, and 34% of our cohorts are doing a triple jump, which is the 3 changes. So 91%, of course, have 3 months, have a job 3 months after the graduation, but it's only a number, yeah, you know. It's up to you what's your plan after that.
Thank you so much, Valentin. Well, without further ado, we'll jump into the ins and outs of the admissions process. I guess one last thing to note about our program is, of course, the cost of tuition. So right now, the fees are situated at 99,000 euros, and there's an estimated of 25,000 euros of living fees. About a third of HEC MBA students receive a scholarship from HEC, and in addition to the HEC Paris Excellence Scholarship and the Diversity one, you can also apply to special scholarships from our partners like L'Oréal or the Forte Foundation. There's also quite a few external and regional scholarships that you might be eligible for, and it's definitely worth connecting with our team for more details about this. So at HEC, we don't have a typical candidate. I was just reading through the Q&A, and each applicant really brings unique experiences and perspectives. What we're really interested in is your motivation for pursuing an MBA now at this point in your career, your goals after the program, what you hope to gain, and what you'll contribute to the experience too. So of course, you'll be supported by the recruitment team throughout the process, receiving personalized guidance and feedback. We have a rolling admissions with deadlines nearly every month. And to give you an idea, we are currently reviewing applications for the upcoming January intake as well as September of next year. So we typically start looking at applications about 1 year before the intake starts up until about 2 months before it starts. So what do you need to apply? I guess the first thing is a academic bachelor's degree. You need a minimum of 2 years of work experience. I mentioned earlier that the average years of work experience is 6 for the program. You need a GMAT or a GRE or an executive assessment. It doesn't make a difference which one of those 3 you apply with. Just choose the one that you're most comfortable taking. You'll also need an English test. Of course, the program, although it's based in France, is completely taught in English. So unless you're a native English speaker or you've graduated with a degree which was taught in English, you'll need an English test. You'll also need 2 recommendation letters, so preferably from people who know your professional strengths, like managers, for example. And then beyond these basics, we also ask you to write essays and share your motivations with us. So to get your application started, I highly, highly recommend that you reach out to us, to the recruitment team as a whole, if you haven't already. You can do that by connecting with us through our website, and I'll also share the link in the chat, because we'll be able to help provide you with personalized feedback on your profile, help and answer any specific questions that you might have. And then once you've submitted your application, you go through the pre-selection jury. So of course, during that time, you're still in touch with us if you want. But just to tell you a bit more about how the process goes once you've submitted your application. So you go through the pre-selection jury, and if you're pre-selected, you get through to the interview phase with HEC MBA alumni. And then the admission decision typically comes out following the interviews about 5 weeks after the original submission date. And a couple of days afterwards is when the scholarship results come out. All right. Well, one thing to think about, of course, is application tips. Maybe I'll leave the floor to Valentin to kickstart.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So for the application tips, I would start to tell you that you have to be authentic. We have 5 essays, as Amelia presented, and so in those 5 essays, really the aim is to get to know you. So don't try to be someone else. It's perfectly fine. We have a medium-sized cohort, which means that we know every one of you. So it's better to get to know the real you in order to get accepted.
Yeah. I think jumping on top of that, I think taking the time to reflect on why you want to do an MBA, why now at this point in your career, why not 2 years ago, why not in 2 years, is always going to be really, really interesting. And of course, doing your research on HEC, being specific about, why is HEC specifically the right school for you, and talk about the courses, the clubs, the specializations that you're excited to take part in. Yeah.
I would say that you are already attending a webinar, so congratulations. But
Yeah.
if you could get in touch with another information session, and of course, remember to ask us, the regional manager, to get in touch with you, and we can book some one-to-one session also.
Yeah, I think we'll probably end it here. I guess maybe the last thing that I would recommend as a tip is definitely to share your career progression on your CV, and don't be shy to share anything that is outside of your professional progression. Anything that is extracurricular is really, really interesting to us. Again, diversity is the words that we repeat all the time, that we swear by. So anything that you feel makes you stand out is really going to be interesting. So I guess maybe I'll end the presentation here. I hope we're on time. It's always really tricky to try and give you as much information as possible in such a short amount of time, but hopefully that gave you a good overview of the program, the application, and the different opportunities here at HEC. There's a QR code here on the screen that I recommend that you scan. I'll also send the direct link in the chat, but this is the Connect with Us form that I mentioned earlier to get informal, personalized feedback on your profile. Well, thank you so much for your attention. I'm happy to jump into the Q&A version.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. I'm sure that was helpful and quite a detailed run through of the entire program. And as you can see, we have too many questions piling up. I will share them on the screen one by one based on the number of votes that each question has received, and then we can take it from there. So I think this is the one that has maximum number of votes. Difference between the September and the January intake.
Oh, interesting. Valentin, do you want to go ahead?
Yep, sure.
Yeah.
So when it comes to January and September intakes, the content is literally the same. The thing is, during term 3 and term 4, they are reversed. So you will be able to do term 3, which are the electives that you can pick to personalize your own profile at the term 3. And in September, it's in September, the term 3, and in January, the term 4. It's just to make sure that you can go to do an international exchange for those who wants to do so. But the content is really the same. Don't worry about it.
Okay. So essentially, the curriculum that the school follows between the two programs is no difference as such. It's the same program, just difference in timelines.
Absolutely, yeah.
I guess just to add on to that, we do have a super new feature that I mentioned earlier, which is the 12-month option for the January intake. So I guess that's something that's to consider as well, and into how much do you want to customize your program. One thing to note, and that's a question that we've been getting quite a bit, is, do I need to decide now on whether I want to finish my program in 12 months or in 16 months? You actually don't need to decide on anything before you're physically on campus. So I guess it's just an extra aspect of customization that you'd have in choosing the January intake.
Okay, awesome. Moving on to the next question, we have, hold on. Yes, regarding visa support.
Yep, I'm happy to take this one. So this is a question, of course, that we receive quite a bit because 95% of our students are coming from all over the world. So coming into the program, you'd be on a student visa throughout the whole length of the program from day 1 until graduation day. So this is just about 2 years of being on a student visa. You the way it works is once you hopefully receive an admission, you receive an official document, and that's the document that you would take to Campus France. So hopefully that answers the question around what visa you'd be coming in with.
Okay, thank you. The next one is to do with French fluency. How important is that? And
okay, I'll jump on it.
Question. Sorry.
I will jump for this one. Don't worry.
Go ahead.
So for the difficulty when it comes to non-French speaker to learn job post MBA, it depends where you want to go after that. If it's in France, it depends the sector you aim. So for instance, the consulting, it's pretty great to speak French, but we do have a language center on campus directly. So you will be able to get some French languages courses for free, of course, because it's part of your MBA. It's not mandatory, but if you want to learn French, it's totally doable. And so after that, you can jump in for posts in consulting. I'd say in finance, it's less important because you are not speaking with a lot of people, but still in France, French people want people to at least understand and speak fluently French. it's really a plus.
If I can just jump on top of that, I saw another related question in the Q&A box around how much French is needed for the actual campus life. So I definitely want to reassure our international students viewing today that HEC is really, really international, and that's beyond the MBA. So throughout the campus, people are bilingual, essentially, if not trilingual or more. So this definitely wouldn't put you at a disadvantage for pursuing anything academic or anything, regarding campus life or networking. I guess that even the staff are bilingual, everyone speaks English, pretty much everyone on campus, so that definitely wouldn't be a disadvantage. And I think, it's also thinking of post-MBA, where do I want to go? Will French be needed or not? But I think also it's a question that's coming very often, because of course it's a French school. So there's often the question of, if I don't want to go stay in France post-MBA, why would I choose a French school? Remember that Paris is, of course, at the center of Europe. So it's definitely a really interesting choice if you're looking to do a European transition, but also just to have that diverse experience and diverse network as well. So hopefully that answered 2 questions in one.
Sure, it does. I believe that a lot of applicants had the same question regarding their eligibility for the MBA program. Like admit chances, is it higher if they are fluent in French? How much of a role does that play to be selected as part of the MBA program?
Oh, good question. It's not a criteria. It's not a written requirement. I think having French on your CV is always interesting because it counts as international exposure. And the more international exposure, the better, because again, the cohort in itself is really, really international. So the more international experience we see in an application, the better, because it shows that you thrive in that environment. But that being said, if you speak Spanish or any other language, that's also really interesting to put on your application, because it says a lot about you. It says a lot about, how open-minded you are and how, open culturally you are as well. So if you don't speak French, it's definitely not going to go against you in your application at all. I'm sure that there's other things that you can counterbalance that for. And again, it's not a requirement in itself.
Thank you. Next up, we have common mistakes regarding application or interview.
Oh, very good question. I love that. Valentin, do you feel like answering it? Otherwise, I'm happy to.
I'd say that's a common thing that I see is sometimes applicants don't really take information from the website or don't do the global things around the website to get to know really the MBA and what we offer at HEC. And sometimes we can see it. And the interviewers, of course, during the interviews will ask you why HEC and why this particular school. So I'd say that it's a common mistake that is made, and be sure to get to know HEC really when you apply, because it's 16 months program. It's a whole adventure in itself. So yeah, be sure that you know why you want to do an MBA, because otherwise we will have to ask you.
Yeah, that was exactly the one that I was going to go for. I think it goes back to the tips that we were saying earlier, really, having that introspection of, why do I want to do an MBA? Why does it make sense now in my career? And why is this school particularly, how is this school going to help you get to my goals? But also, how is this school, how am I going to contribute? Because the program is 12 months, 16 months, but beyond that, you'll be part of the HEC community more largely. And we're super proud to say that our alumni network is really responsive, really active. So I think it also goes beyond that. So I think if you show that in your application, then you'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next up is about international exposure. Hold on. Oh, I marked it on. So 1 second. There you go.
Okay, is it a big disadvantage if one doesn't have any international exposure in terms of traveling, working outside of their home country? So I'm happy to take this one, Valentin, maybe you can add in anything, but there's quite a few people who, when they come to HEC, it's actually their first time outside of their home country. So that's definitely not something that is to your disadvantage. I think international exposure comes in very different ways. Working in various teams, it can be just, traveling for holidays. It can be through volunteering experience. Some people can live in really, really big countries. So you could take a 7-hour flight and still stay in the same country, but it's still some kind of international exposure in itself, or multicultural exposure. So that's definitely something that's really interesting as well. So it's definitely not a big disadvantage. It's not a disadvantage at all. But we do recommend that if you have any kind of international exposure, and this again, going back to the language skills, that can be, knowing a different language than your mother tongue. It can be through a volunteering experience. It can be through work as well. It can go in very, very different ways. Again, having a conversation with our recruitment team will definitely help you try and figure out what traits to put in your application. But it's definitely not a disadvantage at all.
I will just add for the second question, does the connecting with people international as part of work count? Of course, because it means that you are working with some people that are international, and you will be able to speak in English, which is a great thing, which is mandatory actually. So part of the work, the connection work can be to speak with our alumni, for instance, or to try to get in touch with them via LinkedIn or things like this. So if you are able to do that in order to get to know even better the MBA and what's going on really, because we are not part of the courts, so we don't know what happens really inside of it. So yeah, if you can do that, it's even better, to be honest.
All right. Okay, this one's about application fee waiver.
Yep. The MBA program looks amazing, doesn't it? What is the criteria for the application fee waiver? Please mention the ideal profile you seek for an MBA application. Okay, so for this event, there's actually a couple of you that might be selected for an application fee waiver through the partnership that we have with GMAT Club today. Jumping into the second question around the ideal profile. So we actually don't have an ideal profile, and that's a question that comes up very, very often, far more than you'd think. And we precisely don't have an ideal one, because what we look for is diversity in very, very different ways. Diversity comes in international diversity, of course, but also professional diversity. I mentioned earlier that we, of course, have bankers, consultants coming into the program, but also people with super diverse backgrounds. People who used to be lawyers, engineers, people who used to be script writers, and tons of other professional backgrounds. And I think that really adds to your profile. So sometimes exactly what you feel makes you uncomfortable is what will make you stand out. So again, I'm sorry to be repeating myself, but definitely connect with the recruitment team. I think that will definitely help you boost your confidence, if anything.
Okay. Okay. Again, common question. Difference between R1 and R2 applicants.
Yep. So R1, R2, we actually don't have that system in the sense that we don't have the typical 3 days for the application. I mentioned earlier when talking about the the admissions process that we have 9 to 10 different application rounds, and it doesn't make a difference which round you go for, whether that's the first one or the very last one or anywhere in between. It doesn't make a difference in terms of admission or in terms of scholarships.
Okay, here, scholarship. You can take that as international students generally, not specific to any country.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want me to try it?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, for the scholarship for the international students, so Amelia would be better than me for the Indian student particularly, since you are dedicated for the international Indian students. But I'd say that for the scholarship, we have different types of scholarships. So again, if you can just get to know in the website what we offer, it's even better. But it's something like 40% of the cohort has some scholarships. We as recruitment manager are not linked to this type of decision, but what we can say is that it represents different types of amounts and different types of scholarships which we are eligible when you submit your application.
Yep. Just adding on to that, the majority of our students are considered for the HEC Foundation Scholarship, so they rewards diversity and excellence. Those are completely merit-based scholarships, and for those, you're automatically considered in your application. Then, as an extra for women specifically, we have a partnership going with the Forte Foundation, which is aiming at having more women apply to an MBA. So this is an extra option, and they are combinable. And as I mentioned in the presentation earlier, about a third of our students receive a scholarship. And then, of course, there's a bunch of external ones as well that are regional, that are quite specific. So there's a whole list on our website under the fees and funding page. So it's definitely worth investigating on there.
Okay. This one's about placement, function, and location wise.
I like that one. I'm happy to jump in.
Yeah, go on.
So I'm saying I like this one because I feel like the word placement is fairly different in Europe than it is in Central and South Asia, for example. So if by placement you mean where do people go post MBA, rather than, so the reason why I'm saying that is that placement in some countries might mean that the school will place you in a company post MBA. HEC is quite different, and quite a few schools are quite different to that in the sense that we provide you with the resources, and then it's up to you to go and get those resources and to use them. So function-wise and location-wise, the functions really vary. I think one document that's really that I advise you look into is the employment report, which is available on their website, which will give you the exact statistics of where did people come from, where did people go, geographically, professionally, etc. Function-wise, I will say that a fair amount of our students go into consulting, finance, and then there's quite a few sectors that are really growing, such as tech, entrepreneurship, luxury, healthcare, for example. So there's definitely quite a bit of diversity coming out of the program professionally, but also that's because there's so much diversity coming into the program. So that's definitely something that's interesting, especially for people who are kind of wanting to explore and take that 16-month break to think about their next step. Location-wise, I'd say that most of our alumni network is located in Europe, and within Europe, mostly France, and then throughout the continent. I think that's mostly through the logic of choosing to do an MBA in this region is to do a geographical change. But that being said, quite a few of our alumni return to their home countries. Some people use that, the international recognition of HEC to move to a different continent altogether. So it's not because you're choosing to do an MBA in France that you'll be locked in France for the rest of your career, is what I'm trying to say. So hopefully that's reassuring to hear. But if you want some really specific statistics, it's definitely worth looking at the recent employment reports.
Thank you so much. This is about scores. Hold on. Yes.
Okay, if I've already submitted my application with my current GRE score, but I end up retaking the GRE, can I submit the new score? If it's higher, will it be considered in my application review? That's a really good question. So I think it depends at what point you're at in your application process. So if you have just recently submitted your application, then it's definitely worth connecting with the admissions team. You should have your own dedicated admissions officer, so definitely shoot them an email if you haven't already, saying, okay, well, where am I in the application round? If it's not too late, I'd like to resubmit my my GRE score. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And then if you've been pre-selected, then I'm pretty sure that you can still send over your recent GRE score, and then it'll be up to the jury to see which score they go for. So in any case, even before you apply, there's quite a few people who take the GRE or whatever equivalent exam quite a few times, and that's totally normal. So I definitely want to demystify that. in any case, the jury will consider the highest score out of, even if you've taken it 5 times, we'll consider, of course, the highest score.
Okay, thank you. We have last couple of minutes left, so I will just check if there's any particular question with maximum votes that we missed out on, but doesn't look like it. Okay, perhaps this one.
Oh, good question. Valentin, do you want to go ahead with this one?
Yeah, sure. Happy to answer that. So when it comes to tech sector, the best recruitment company is Amazon right now. So they are taking you for internship, but also for job directly after that. I have some example, quite a few examples of these current cohorts of the 24 that are that they have their own job after the MBA already at Amazon. So I know that it's a pretty big companies coming. For the top roles, we are talking about C-level roles, especially in the tech. Some engineers are coming directly to get some managing background, some management background, and some finance and business background just to get in touch with the tech after that in a C-level position. When it comes to geographies, it's always kind of the same because we have a huge impact in Europe. The best geography there would be France and Europe, of course. But if you want to come back in India, for instance, or in your current country, I know that I have a lot of Africans coming back in their own countries. You can do it also. We have a huge impact in different types of country because we have a huge alumni network. So it's really up to what you want to do. But if you are looking for things like specialization and stuff, you can always get in touch with us because this type of question would be really unique for your profile. So don't hesitate to get in touch with us. Again, if you have anything to add, Amelia.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that was a really good answer. Valentin used to work at the Career Center at HEC, which is why I gave him this question. So yeah, I think the top roles, there's a bunch of different ones. Again, because there's so much professional diversity coming in, it means there's lots of different roles that that our alumni take. I'd say project management is a really popular one at the minute. And then in terms of companies, they really vary, and the geographies do as well. So I definitely agree that it's definitely worth connecting with us to have like some specific statistics and maybe some people to connect with as well. Our alumni are the best people to chat with really to talk about the program because they have lived and breathed HEC for 16 months. So we'd be more than happy to connect you with them.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. This is the last question we're going to take. Again, regarding the curriculum.
Okay, HEC Paris is known for its strong emphasis on entrepreneurship and innovation. How does the MBA program integrate emerging technologies such as AI and sustainability into its curriculum? Oh, very good question. Very specific as well. Do you have an idea of how to answer that, Valentin, or otherwise I can go ahead?
I think you can go ahead and maybe I can add some things after that.
All right. So the MBA curriculum is constantly evolving. So I think every single term, every single course really, we ask actually feedback from candidates, but also overall from professors as well. And professors are really into updating the curriculum very constantly. So sustainability and AI are absolute top priorities, top subjects at the minute. So they are definitely being integrated on I'd say on a very deep level. Beyond the specializations, we have a data and AI specialization, we have a sustainability specialization, but I think throughout the program as well, through the whole course, even through the core courses of the fundamental phase of the program, it's integrated. And I think over the coming years, maybe by the time you would join, it will be even more integrated.
Yeah, I will add something, a quick thing. It's just a remark that At HEC, we are following the trends from the companies. So last year, the trend was sustainability. So we had to learn more about sustainability in order to get in touch with the students about sustainability and to make sure that they have the good background. This year, it's only about AI. So be sure that you will have to study AI and to get in touch with AI. So yeah, be sure that really we are on the top of the ranking when it comes to academics. So yeah, it's fully okay.
All right. I think with that, we can come to an end for the session. I hope that we've been able to answer as many questions as possible. And I think we covered a bunch of topics under the entire domain of MBA. So again, once again, thank you so much. What I would suggest is that you could just share the link to the QR code once more. Maybe if someone missed out during the session, they can quickly check at the end.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just sharing it now. Here you go. It's in the chat once again.
Okay.
I think it's not working. Your link is not working, but have it there. Yep.
Yes, somebody did confirm that the link is working,
Yep.
so should not be a problem. But yes,
Okay.
once again, thank you so much for doing this with us. I'm sure, like we just said, we just saw how helpful it was for everyone who's interested, and hoping that most of these students actually end up on the other side and meet you all there in Paris for the session. So once again, thank you so much. And
Thank you
yes,
for having us. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having
Great
us.
moderating, Shreya.
Thank you,
Have
Shreya.
a fantastic day, evening, wherever you are
You
in the
too.
world
You
for
too.
those watching. And thank you again for having us. À
Thank you
Thank you very
bientôt.
much.
Take care.
À bientôt.